Good evening, everyone. This to another episode of What's Really Going On in America. Tonight we're gonna do the final part of the debate. I'm sorry, my co-host is not here tonight due to a tornado warning. Um, where he's at. So it's just gonna be me and next week. It is my hope to have a guest on the show who, which in every one of his YouTube and all his platforms, he's describing Allentown nearly to the T. So I'm hoping to have him on the show next week. And if you want to support WRGOA, get one of these wonderful Human Lives Matter t-shirts. The the website is in the description. So all you have to do is copy, paste, and go from there. So now let's get into it.
BS 39 and on 91.3 WLVR tomorrow night. Remember, the primary election is Tuesday, May 20th. The deadline to register to vote in the May primary is May 15th.
All right, candidates, we're going to do something a little different now and allow you to ask each other some questions. Taking turns, you'll ask your opponent 2 questions, and they'll have 1 minute to respond. Mr. Zuckel, you'll start. What is your first question for Mr. Turk?
Yes. Mr. Turk, prior to becoming mayor, there were 5 mayors before you with a total span of about 34 years. Not one of those mayors ever had a lawsuit of discrimination, harassment, or unfair work practices against them. Why you?
I don't know if your facts are accurate. None of your other facts have been accurate yet
No, they are
thus far.
I can name the mayors if you want.
Sure, go ahead. I'm going to answer the question though.
Go
So,
ahead.
the part of a modern work environment is employee relations, and we don't control how people litigate. We are in a more litigious society. You're well aware of that from your own life. The question of why me, it's not me exactly. It's a city administration that inherited challenges from administrations past. I don't want to put anybody else on the spot, but people make decisions about personnel, and they're hard to discuss in a public forum like this. And frankly, I don't have a good answer for that because I don't think it's a legitimate question.
Well,
and I don't think it's specific to me. I'm engaged with mayors from across the country, and this is common practice. This is
Sorry guys. Let me
something you see in cities all over the country. Allentown's not unique in that way.
Okay, hold on. Now I can go under history.
Unique in that way.
There's no rebuttal for this portion, Mr. Zuckel.
Wow. So right off the bat, he says, I don't know if that information if you're even accurate in that. Imagine that. There's employees that say otherwise in Allentown City Hall. And considering that these EEOC complaints are public record, Mayor Tuck has nothing. He cannot hide from this, okay? People, go at me saying, in my candidacy, oh, you did this in the past. But within the last 5 years, all I did was worked on my business, and and I, and that was it. Basically, maybe had some fun here and there, but usually work my business. And my two main focuses is government and the church. That's it. And so, but here is a mayor who these same people are supporting that has current complaints against him with the EEOC and current um, complaints on harassment. But let's continue. And by the way, Ed Zuko is way better than Turk. But and I respect him more, and I'm hoping that even if I lose my um running the race, that he will actually work with me to make a better Allentown, even if I'm not mayor. I'm hoping that he would have me by his side and allow me to help him to do better because in reality, that's what I would do as mayor is work with the community and allow a trusted someone to look into things with me and see what we can do together. Let's continue.
Zukel. So instead, Mr. Turk, do you have a question for Mr. Zukel?
I do. The very first thing that came out of your mouth when you stepped to the curb at the Ritz barbecue to announce that you were running for mayor was that I was too woke.
Yes.
So, what I'd like to know is what are the woke policies and procedures that you would kill, and how do you square them with the democratic values like inclusivity, compassion, and progressive change?
Well, I think there's more to running a city than having bicycle paths, deciding what color sunglasses you're going to wear for a photo op. I think we need to go back. This is a blue collar city. It's not a city, back when we had punk rock or anything like that. This is a city that is made up of Pennsylvania Dutch, Irishmen, everything. So that's what I mean by I believe that we need to get back to what this city was originally.
Mr. Zuko, your second.
And Zuko is absolutely correct. There is a lot more to running a city than bicycle paths. Safe streets is important. I'll give Tuck that much credit, but we got to do better as far as having businesses in downtown Allentown that thrive. Everyone else will. I was confronted today by someone that says, "Oh, this part of Allentown's doing good. That part's doing good," but and then they're saying, "Oh, downtown's not important." It's like, really? So you're telling me that? So to the person that told me that's not that important, you're telling me that people downtown Allentown are not important? I'm sorry. And then, of course, there's more to running than inclusivity. You know, I'm not going to agree with your lifestyle, but if you're not harming anyone or pushing someone or pushing kids to have a transgender, you know, I'm going to be okay with you doing whatever you want as an adult. Under 18, you will have limitations. You do have limitations, and that includes gun rights and the and transgender. If you want to do the transgender thing after 18, when you're 18 and over, be my guest. I'm not going to stop you. you know, this is America. I sworn an oath to the Constitution. And plus, I'm not going to force, my biblical beliefs down your throat. I'll share them, but I won't force. But there's one thing that I would never do as a mayor or any other position, and that support murder in the room. And that's plain and simple. Murder in the room. I will never support it. Let's go.
Your second and final question for Mr. Turk.
Yes. When speaking with older residents, when I go door to door like you, who have been in their house for like 50 plus years, are concerned if you remain mayor, the rising cost of taxes, impending tax increases, and everyday general expenses has them scared. What can I tell them that you're going to do to prevent them from losing their home?
So the residents of the city of Allentown deserve the best. They deserve the best services, and our team works hard to deliver value for taxpayer dollar. I'm really excited. A lot of those older folks that you've talked to are actually the families of many of our employees that work on the budget and that deliver those city services. And they take it to heart.
Yes.
They take that very much to heart, as do I. The way that we do this is that we prioritize the things that we must do to empower our residents and make smart investments in efficiency and data. We invest in improvements to the way that we do things at City Hall, like digitization of our permitting system. We just upgraded our accounting system to facilitate better transactions. It leads to a level of efficiency, and a citywide data strategy will allow us to make investments in key areas where they matter most. Fundamentally, we balance the delivery of city services with protecting the taxpayer purse. It's something that we take seriously every day, and we're listening to those residents and making sure that they can count on having their streets cleared so they can get to doctor's appointments, that they can count on having clean streets that they enjoy when they walk to our beautiful parks. All of that comes with effective management. I'm proud of my team, and they take that work seriously.
Again, no rebuttals, sorry.
Okay. So basically, okay. So as far as the taxes going up, last year, we as a community fought uh, Allentown City Hall hard to keep the taxes from raising even 2%, which is pretty big downtown Allentown. And there was a woman there who runs an organization who actually spoke up and said the last tax increase ended up with 40 new homeless families. We fought hard and they shut down the proposal to increase taxes. Now, guess now? Oh, yeah. And afterwards, Mayor Turk left in anger. He's like, I don't want to talk to you because he wanted the taxes to go up. Not because he can't budget or anything, but because he wants to spend more of your money. Plus, there's a guy on the inside who I'm hoping to have who is more than willing to speak up, come on to this podcast. And now that the weather's a little warmer, hopefully a little less rainy, I may actually have him on my podcast. And we'll go outside and see the parts of Allentown that needs to, you know, to be exposed. Things that's making Turk money, I'm sure. So, let's continue.
Mr. Turk, your final question for Mr. Zuckel.
Yeah, so what I'd like to do is just come back to that first question of the woke policies. You didn't answer it. you didn't say what things that you would stop doing, and you specifically didn't mention the democratic values that you hold close. In fact, you used language that I've heard from MAGA about making Allentown, sounded like make Allentown great again. Can you please explain which Democrat?
Okay, before we get to the question, Make Allentown Great Again is a t-shirt that I had made. So Tuck knows me very well to be wearing that shirt, especially on my campaigns. And he especially hates the back of it. He doesn't care about the homeless. He doesn't care about taxes hurting the people downtown Allentown. He doesn't care about you. Eh, Zuko has more of a care for us than Turk. And out of both of them, I think I care the most because I just cannot stand to see people sleeping in front of the doorways of closed stores and not feel any kind of compassion to want to help from the inside. But let's continue.
Democratic values you hold dear, and how you can square those with elimination of the woke policies that you would cancel.
Well, unlike you, I've been a registered Democrat my entire life. You were only partially registered. So when the statement actually goes back to in the beginning when you said you basically do everything based on your democratic values. I believe in our system in America. I do not believe in the mega system. But I guess the best way to say it is that your personality and my personality are obviously very different, how you run the city and how I would run the city. That's the best way I can probably really just answer your question.
Thank you both.
Thank you, gentlemen. We'll continue now.
Okay. So I will say that answer from Zuko was definitely not an answer. And as much as I hate to agree with Tuck, and I do, that was not an answer. And yes, that tastes like vinegar coming out of my mouth. Ugh, and it's painful to my heart to even say I agree with Tuck. Let's continue.
Now with more questions for both of you. After that, we'll wrap things up with your closing statements. Once again, this debate between Allentown mayoral candidates is being brought to you by Lehigh Valley Public Media in partnership with Miller Symphony Hall in Allentown. Just a reminder, you each get up to a minute to respond here, and if you want to rebut something, signal us. Jason, please start us off.
Thank you. Mr. Zuckel, this year's City Council has adopted legislation protecting immigrant and LGBTQ communities. Are these simply value statements? Can the city really provide protections amid immigration crackdowns and executive orders aimed at these issues?
Well, we really can't limit what the federal government is allowed to do. I'll give you my reason for supporting that. When this was all happening with the ICE movement, having work at the school, we did get a list of procedures should ICE come and try to take students. My reason for voting for that, I have a lot of friends that work in restaurant establishments that I'm sure are not, legitimately legal here. However, they're not breaking crimes. They're contributing to society. I do not believe that innocent children and people that, although living here undocumented is a crime, I don't believe it's fair that they should be removed from their families.
Same question for you, Mr. Turk. Can the city really provide protections?
So safe, clean, and healthy is something that we focus on. It's our mission at the City of Allentown to promote the well-being of our residents. And safety has a lot of dimensions. So some of the protection that is provided is when legislation is passed, when policies are adopted that give people the feeling that their city has their back. That's what happened at the City Council meeting last night, where City Council urged the mayor to adopt a policy that we quickly started crafting, a policy that lets our LGBTQ plus siblings, particularly our transgender siblings, know that we are there for them and that we will not turn their safety over in a changing environment. It's true as well for our immigrant community. I engaged for months prior to the passage of the Welcoming City Ordinance and worked closely with Councilwoman Gerlach to make sure that our ordinance complied with our primary responsibility. I took an oath, Councilman Zuckel took an oath as a city council person, all of our police officers took an oath to uphold and obey and defend the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and the rules and laws of the city of Allentown. We have to hold those commitments sacred. So we can provide protections. There are some things that we have to comply with state law.
Okay, the next question is for you, so we'll just stick with you.
Sure.
Last
Okay. So, yes, we got issues with illegal immigration. Now, if I was mayor, yeah, I would not. Okay, so we got Fourth Amendment, which keeps the government from illegally seizing, identity. Now, in the case of them breaking the law, one of two things can happen. If they break a secondary law, then they can be ID'd because we want to protect the rights of all Americans. And that includes you. The skin color, skin color means nothing to me. I don't care if you're from China, Africa, Mexico, Argentina, Germany, Italy. There are white countries too, which people come illegally. And if they're found out to be here illegally and they break a secondary law, you're going to be ID'd and you're either going to be deported, or if the crime is severe, you should go through due process and possibly be executed to death. It depends. If you break a minor law and you're found out, you get deported. But if you break a hard law, if you murder, rape, assault someone, oh no, we don't play that. And under my administration, that doesn't play, especially if you do it to someone I care about, because I would do everything I can to protect them. And the so-called statistics, you know, I don't care about statistics. You break a law, you get punished. I broke laws, if it's usually either minor and maybe up to medium, but I never go on hardcore. And I paid the price for all of it. And now, if I was illegally here, I would, I would expect the government of the United States of America to deport me back to the country of origin that I came from. And that would be my punishment. Because if I would have murdered someone, raped someone, or assaulted someone, I would expect to be deported. I would expect to be executed. Let's continue.
Last time you campaigned as a candidate uniquely qualified to connect with Allentown's diverse population. Yet important community events such as the Safe Streets for All open house and the city's 5-year housing plan meeting are sparsely attended. How do you plan to better engage with city residents on important initiatives?
That is a challenge that everybody faces. And when I say everybody, I mean everybody across the country. When you go to an event so we are doing a parks master plan that is designed to capture community feedback and bring their thoughts about what the future of our park should be, so that we can make sure that we're guiding investments in a way that respects our history, but also the residents of the city of Allentown. It is very hard to get people to engage. We try everything, and we'll continue to try everything. We won't give up, because I have a level of confidence that the only way that we can solve the complex challenges that we face is through collaboration. It's through working together. So I campaigned on that in the past. I campaigned on being somebody who would keep putting in the effort. And I will continue to keep putting in the effort. I show up. I hope that I can set an example for everybody. In my second State of the City address, I encourage people to join me and my wife Karen at Allen football games. We're making a dent. It's going to take a long time. There are significant impacts of the COVID pandemic that we're still getting over as a community in Allentown, as a Lehigh Valley, and as a country, but I think we're starting to see the light.
Okay, same question for you, Councilman Zuckel. How would your administration inspire community engagement?
Well, I got to agree with the mayor on this one. People have so much to do. Some are working double jobs, trying to feed their families, trying to exist. I wouldn't say it's so much apathy. It's just that people just have so many things to do today. Sporting events for their children, and the city meetings are probably second class to them. So I would agree with them. It is very hard to get people together.
Mayor Turk.
I like to keep this conversation going, because I like it when my opponent agrees with me. That's always good. But I also like when we have an opportunity to engage our residents on the importance of showing up. If you don't show up, you can't express yourself. You can't take a role in the decisions that are being made. And that's critically important at events like the Safe Streets for All unveiling. It's important for our bicycle infrastructure plan, which is live now, and I believe through the end of May, and I want to encourage people to fill that out. But it's also critically important at the ballot box. We have a primary election on May 20th. One of the challenges that we have in the city of Allentown is not just that people have a hard time showing up for a city council meeting, as exciting as they might be, but they have a hard time showing up to vote.
Thank you very much. We'll hopefully this will help raise awareness for the primary. Mr. Zuckel, this question's for you.
Okay. So you heard it right here. People working, parents taking kids to sports, anything to distract the residents from actually being able to take action to hold their government accountable. Working double jobs would definitely do it. And it's very hard. This is why when someone can be self-sufficient with only one job or even owning a business, that's something that Mayor Tuck does not want. He doesn't want you to succeed, because if you succeed, that means you can hold him accountable. You can pay attention to him. He doesn't want you to pay attention to him. He just wants you to pay attention to the personality he puts out in public while he does things behind your back. Don't trust him. And yeah, so it's like, Zuko, what are you gonna do about it? Because I know what I would do about it: lower taxes and still make things happen. Because and I'm not gonna favor the rich like all of you do. I'm gonna favor the residents. Let's continue.
The YMCA's overnight warming shelter closed this week until November, pushing many people onto city streets. The city is now facing a lawsuit related to its response to a homelessness encampment. What are your plans for tackling homelessness in Allentown, and how do you plan to balance efforts for temporary shelters with long-term housing solutions?
Well, I would say this. I don't want to speak on the lawsuit because it's not directed at me. Unfortunately, we have people living in tents, cars, under tarps. We need to get them into shelters. The only way to do that is we need to also address any addictions they may have, get them therapy. We have to have places to put them. Thank God, I got to tell you, we have one of the best homeless commissions on homelessness in the city, and they do a great job trying to put this together. And our ultimate goal, obviously, is long term. Now, you got to also realize, when I was a police officer, I can probably tell you 3 times that relatives came to our office or to our desk window asking to check on their relatives. And when we went down, it was cold. They don't want help. There are folks that do want to remain, crazy as that sounds, want to remain homeless. But our goal should be to get them short term, immediate help, and then the ultimate goal is long term.
Mr. Turk, balancing temporary shelters with long-term housing solutions.
Homelessness is an incredibly complex issue and truly deserves more than a minute response or a 2-minute response. But I want to point out that I think Mr. Zuckel does not understand the issue. I have not seen, I'm glad that he's saying nice things about the Commission on Homelessness, but I've never seen him in a meeting. I think when he says things like people want to remain homeless, it displays a profound lack of understanding and a profound lack of empathy for the challenges that people face. I spend a lot of time and energy thinking about this particular challenge. When I was down at the Jordan Creek working alongside volunteers to clean up the Jordan Creek, I was able to speak with some of the people who are living in tents right now and living in temporary shelters. They face a host of different challenges. While we work to develop long-term solutions, we have to continue to support our partners like the Conference of Churches, like the YMCA, like the Allentown Rescue Mission in providing those various different support services that help people through those difficult times. Because sometimes you see a success. I saw my friend John, who the last time I'd seen was homeless and living in Stevens Park. Today, when I was knocking on doors, I saw him on Tillman Street. He has an apartment. He's doing better. And if we just bulldoze problems, it just pushes them somewhere else. And that's what the lawsuit asks us to do. And that's a policy of the past that simply won't work anymore. We are working.
Mr. Zuckel, did you signal? I'm sorry.
No.
Okay, I'm seeing.
We're gonna stick with
Can I rebut his silence?
the lawsuit. Mr. Turk, a whistleblower lawsuit has reopened investigation.
Okay. So the Conference of Churches here in Allentown, PA, I'm going to be investigating them very soon because it's funny how Turk likes them and he's crooked. And yeah, they may help a few people here and there. But I'll tell you, but then they are taking a lot of tax money, and apparently someone is like basically a lot of corruption going on, from what I heard from residents who happen to have public records about them. And why didn't he? And you know where Ed Zuckel went to? He went to Oath, Operation Address the Homeless. I know the president, vice president very well. She's awesome. She fights the government. And it doesn't matter if they're Democrat or Republican, even though she's a Democrat. I would hope that someday she would see that both sides are corrupted, which is why I'm not running under a label, because I don't like labels. I want to be known for who I am, not for the label of political party. And one thing that Operation Address the Homeless wants to do is create a clean palette community to where people can live in pallets for temporarily until they can get onto their feet and live in an apartment or even own in a house. And as far as, and Ed Zuko is right, not everyone wants to be helped. There are some, I've actually had someone who came up to me asking for money, of course. And I said, Operation Address the Homeless can do a lot more for you than I can. And They can even help you get off the streets. And you know what he told me? He told me that he wants to remain homeless so he doesn't have to pay child support. That's right. He said that to me. So Ed Zuko is right on that part. And then so he wasn't saying everyone wants to not be helped. There are people who want to be helped. But then there are those who do not. Let's continue.
Investigations that paint troubling pictures of the Allentown Police Department. A sergeant and former officer are charged with sexual assault and other crimes, and apparently had been investigated previously without being charged. Do you believe the department has the trust and confidence of the public?
So earlier in regard to the lawsuit against the city of Allentown, Mr. Zukel said that it wasn't directed at him. You represent the city, so it is in fact directed at you. And a lawsuit like this is difficult for us to comment on. We can't. Both the lawsuit and the criminal act.
Sure. The question, though, which you can't answer,
Sure.
is do you believe the department has the trust and confidence of the public?
I think that we've invested in our officers to continue to build trust. One thing that we've done is we've continued to hire more officers that reflect the community that they serve. I'm always proud to meet new cadets at the Allentown Police Academy, and I know that we are building trust with our community because we're hiring officers who truly get it. We have an incredibly intense vetting process that leads to about 1% of applicants making it through. It challenges our ability to appropriately staff, but we place officer wellness as the highest priority. And if we invest in our officers, they'll invest in the community that they serve.
And Councilman Zukel, you served for decades in the Allentown Police Department. How much faith do you have in its leadership? And what, if any, steps need to be taken to restore community trust?
Well, I can tell you that the community does not trust the police anymore. The fact that an officer goes into 7-Eleven and he's called a rapist, a thief, to me, that's not confidence in the police department. I truly believe that, and I know the mayor won't agree with me on this, and that's okay. I believe we need new leadership at the top in the police department. And if I become mayor, that will be one of the first positions I replace.
Mayor Turk, what would you like to say?
So I think he's totally wrong. I think that when the actions of a single individual do not, in fact, reflect the integrity of an entire department. And I think that Chief Roca, our police chief, has done an incredible job leading the Allentown Police Department out of a culture of a difficult culture and into a culture of excellence. And he's done that by investing in officer wellness, taking seriously the concerns of both officers and of the community to make our Allentown Police Department better, and continue to expand the net to increase the level of recruitment into the Allentown Police Department. He's also invested heavily in technology that helps our police and gives our police the tools they need to do the job. And we now are on the precipice of making an investment in our public safety building that will truly respect the work that our officers do by giving them a good home.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to address parking next.
Okay. So yeah, Mayor Tuck is partially correct, but so is Ed Zukel. There are some people who have zero trust in the police because of the weeds. Just like a garden, every garden has its weeds. Every good police department, or bad ones, well, every good police department does have weeds. Unless if somehow unless if it's like Catasauqua police, which I've never had issues with. But the Allentown police, some of them are corrupted. I've seen it on Long Island Audits video. I've actually did an audit at the Allentown Public Library where I was doing what I'm legally and constitutionally allowed to do. And the policy goes against both the First Amendment and Pennsylvania state law. And they banned me from the library, from a public library. and I will be fighting that. And hmm, so, but yeah, and then I've seen videos where a cop pushes a look like a young lady simply for standing and recording, knocking her phone out of her hand. It's not That's not a good sign. That's not going to gain trust of the police. So, and if I was in office, I would definitely train them on the Constitution, amendment by amendment, little by little. If it's something like the First Amendment, be First Amendment, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, one by one, each and every day. So they learn something new. And then I'll keep on reviewing it, give them reviews. And I'll even give a constitutional test. Also, I would train them on the laws. If someone comes up to me and says, "Hey, my rights were violated," and they can quote the amendment, and there's a law that and I don't care what the law says, that if the Constitution goes above the law. So, just like laws go above policies, but let's continue.
Mr. Zuckel, in response to community outrage, the Allentown Parking Authority stopped overnight enforcement 2 years ago. However, it restored the practice in January due to budgetary concerns. Is this a necessary evil?
Well, if it is to them. I think if we had more people coming to the city, they don't really make their money on parking decks and things, I don't believe, or permit parking. They make their money on the meters. So in order for them to sustain some financial stability, unfortunately, they need to do that. I mean, they got themselves into a bind, and as you recall, about a year or so ago, there was a big mess with that. Thank goodness for the Parking Authority Board. They came up with some good decisions. However, one of our requirements or wishes was that there was not be the 24-hour patrol, and they did stop it for a while, and now they started again. And I think that's an issue that has to be taken up with the actual Parking Authority Board.
Mayor Turk, should overnight enforcement continue?
I think overnight enforcement of safety issues should continue. So the focus of the Allentown Parking Authority when they're doing overnight enforcement is on people who are parked in front of fire hydrants, people who are parked and blocking garages, people who are parked too close to the corner, making it very difficult for people to drive around the city of Allentown. Safe, clean, and healthy is our mantra at the city of Allentown, and I'm glad to see that the Allentown Parking Authority embraces that value as well. We have to continue to invest in safe streets to protect the health and welfare of our residents. A lot of the times that a pedestrian is hit at night, it's during those after hours. So we want to make sure that everybody who's working on enforcement of the rules in the city of Allentown is focused on the safety of the residents of Allentown. I want to point out, I don't think that Mr. Zuckel has looked at the Allentown Parking Authority's financial reports or attended the meetings, because I don't think that they make their money, in fact, on the meters, but that is public information. And I'm not sure about your reporting on the Allentown Parking Authority's response by adding overnight parking as a response to budgetary concerns. I was alerted to their interest in doing overnight enforcement, and they let me know that they were going to be focusing on safety, and I was happily in favor of that.
City Council raised parking tickets and fees in response to these budgetary concerns as well. Mr. Zuckel, what is your response to signing off on those?
Well, as I said, they had a $2 million deficit, and they came to us requesting us to help them, and they raised some of the prices on the tickets, and some of those tickets hadn't been raised for 15, 20 years. So I felt that I think it was a necessary evil, but I think that most people understand that sometimes, you got to raise things. That's just, financial, responsibility. So I wasn't crazy about doing it, but I do see, they did have a need. And like I said, most of those tickets weren't raised for years.
I'm going to cut you off there just because I need to give Mr. Turk a quick, very brief.
Very quick. So I want to be clear that the reason that we fine people for doing things is because we don't want them to do those things. And when you have a fine that's inconsistent with the desired outcome, if your parking fines are only $10, it's not enough to motivate people to do something differently. It's similar to the bus tickets. If we want people to really change their behavior, we have to make sure that the fine that matches the desired outcome.
Thank you.
So yeah, Ed Zuko was right, and he did sign off on raising the fines, and I don't think even if I became mayor that I could ever lower them as much as I would want to. However, I can hold the APA accountable to the Eighth Amendment because it is, as you heard, overseen by City Council and the city of Allentown. But if I would have been in office, I would have fought against from $10 to 25, 35, whatever it is these days, all the way to my death. And I would be sure that the Eighth Amendment, which is against cruel and unusual punishment, and then the overnight, yeah, it did stop for a while, but then we got videos of people of parking authority going overnight again. And it was not about safety. It was about money. Now, if you're parked in front of a fire hydrant, yeah. And this is why we could use some more cameras in the city to keep an eye on the APA all over. But but I do agree with Tuck a little bit. Safety, but they weren't doing it for safety. They were doing it just to make money off the backs of hardworking Americans trying to make ends meet. And this is something I would stop as a mayor. Let's continue.
Lastly, I'd like to address taxes and the budget. Mayor Turk, you proposed raising taxes as part of the 2024 budget. It didn't pass, but both of you signed off on hiking the garbage fee and creating the ability to raise the deed transfer tax. How healthy are city finances, and would you propose raising taxes next year or at any point in a second term?
So when I proposed raising taxes in the 2024 budget, it was attached to an increase in city services. So the hope was that we could continue to provide a high level of service to our residents and focus our time and energy on the parks and on doing better with our transportation improvements. City Council did not want to see a tax increase and consequently did not want to see an increase in the quality of services that were provided to our residents. Mr. Zuckel, Councilman Zuckel just said sometimes you have to raise prices. We don't know what the future holds. We've seen terrible things coming out of Washington and they're playing havoc on family budgets. I can't say for sure what's going to happen. I know that the price of eggs increase and so does the price of asphalt. And if we want to continue to have a functioning city, we may have to raise taxes. We're going to do everything that we can. As I said before, our families live in the city of Allentown. We take this deadly seriously. We want to make sure that people's purses are protected. We don't want to see people out on the street. We're going to do everything that we can to protect people's purses.
Thank you. Mr. Zuckel, the same question. Will city taxes have to rise next year or in the next term?
Well, I will do my best that doesn't happen. And as far as the taxes under this mayor, you can't believe what he says. In 2023, he came to us initially with a 5.4 increase. We said no. He came back with 2%. He said no. The finance director said that if we don't give that 2%, there would be a double-digit tax increase in 2024. Well, come August, we had a $6.2 million deficit. Come election time at budget time, miraculously, that deficit is gone and there's no tax increase. The issue I have is where did that $6.2 million go? There's no way. My taxes are due July 15th. We had a $6.2 million deficit in August. Where'd the money go? One of the very first things I will do if I get into office is I will absolutely have a forensic audit.
15 seconds for you, Mayor Turk.
So he's wrong. I think that Councilman Zuckel has, during his time working on budgets, demonstrated an inability to read a budget. When we project that we may see a tax increase, it's based on what we think is going to happen at the beginning of the year. Things change. And we right now are in our healthiest financial position ever.
Thank you.
We've come to the time for closing statements.
Okay. So I don't know what the financial stuff is right now, but if I was mayor, just like Zuko, I would definitely 100% support the forensic audit, financial audits. And I would want to see, where is our money truly going? And Zuko said another thing, right? You can't trust Turk. He's taking your money for personal things. You know, people don't. A whistleblower got fired, terminated for speaking out, and he's gonna be on this show. At least it's my hope. And we will discover Allentown together, live. A- And and my co-host will probably watch comfortably from his home. And all I know is I think I may be able to decrease taxes because I know how not to spend other people's money to the point where, and if I have to lower my salary to pay the deficit, I will lower it down to 40 grand a year. I will make the average amount of another human being. And it's my hope that the economy here in Allentown is better. And eggs go down so low that you'll be able to afford them. Let's go to the closing comments.
Each candidate gets 60 seconds. We'll go in the same order determined by the coin toss, which gives Mr. Turk the last word. Mr. Zuckel, your closing statement.
Thank you. In 1975, there was a commercial with a bear in a park ranger suit and a hat with a shovel. And his model was, only you can prevent forest fires. It's now 50 years later in 2025. I am standing in front of you with the same request. Only you can change the outcome and how the city works. I am asking for your vote on May 20th. Thank you.
Hey everybody, it's Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi. I have a question for you. If you had to make a choice between having
Thank you, Mr. Zuckel. Mr. Turk, your closing statement.
So I'd like to reflect a little bit on what leadership means in Allentown. During my time as mayor, we have built a safer, cleaner, and healthier city. Downtown is better, our parks are nicer, and we've managed finances without raising your taxes. As a real Democrat, I commit to you to always lead with compassion and energy and with integrity. I will tell you the truth. I don't focus on our differences. I'm focused on bringing Allentonians together to face complex challenges head on. Together, we've improved public safety. We've built affordable housing, and we have given people a chance to get ahead. I'm looking forward. I am dedicated to the work ahead of us. Allentown deserves a leader who shows up, who listens, and who acts in the interest of all. As we approach May 20th, I'm asking you to continue to support me as your mayor. Vote for kindness, vote for innovation, vote for progress, vote for Matt Turk.
Thank you, Mr. Turk. This concludes the Allentown mayoral debate for the 2025 primary election. We want to thank the candidates for being here. You can give them a round of applause.
All right. So, sorry. So, yeah. So, my closing statements is yes, I was told Tuck was a little bit more polished, and after looking at this again, yeah, he was a little bit more polished, but that's because he was prepared for any and all things being asked because he knew what the people were saying. And as far as but Zuko is a bit more honest. He's like a Democrat of maybe the 1990s, maybe early 2000s, way before Obama, which is probably why. I mean, that would probably explain his older looks, but anyway, um, we can't trust Tuck. He's gonna destroy Allentown, all because he's greedy. He wants more money for himself, not for us. Yes, some of us will be helped, but the majority of us will not. And me, I'm running for mayor under independent. And I care more about the people of this city more than anyone because I've been around here since 96. It's the most consistent place I've ever lived in my entire life. I didn't ex- I didn't think I would make a whole decade of living in one spot, but here we are. Um th- like almost 30 years later, almost 30 years I've been here. And yet, it, so so of course I'm gonna care about Allentown more than anyone else, especially the people I met here, the friends I made. I don't want to see anyone get hurt. Now, would I want my worst enemies to survive? Have survival. Be taxed less and have better lives. Well, the answer is yes. Because as Jim Carrey put it, everyone has to eat, but I'm mature enough that something around, I'm going to summarize it. They don't have to eat at my table. So I thank you for being on the show tonight. And next week we shall have, I'm hoping for the guests to come up and get a Human Lives Matter t-shirt. Only $20 plus shipping. And we'll see. And hopefully, my co host will be available next week. And have a nice night.